All right, welcome back, America. Dr. Bill Lyle is our guest this afternoon, OBGYN, pro-life doc. You can visit him at prolifedoc.org. People know him. He is renowned from coast to coast here in the great United States of America. Dr. Bill, thanks for being a part of the show today.
My pleasure.
Let me ask you a couple questions.
Sure.
First of all, tell us, cervical cancers, aren't all cervical cancers the direct result of HPV virus, or am I mistaken?
Well, what we do know is when you look at cervical cancers, 99.7% of all the cervical cancers have been infected with HPV. Now, does everybody who gets HPV become positive for cervical cancer? No, but almost all of the cervical cancers are caused by HPV, and we have other cancers as well that we know are directly caused by HPV.
Yeah, so that's huge. And again, I mean, it's possible for a young person. Let's talk about young ladies because they're the most susceptible to it. Although guys can get it too, but it's possible for a young lady to make a poor choice one time, have sex outside of marriage, and contract the HPV virus, and that's it, right?
Yeah, the three biggest risk factors for cervical cancer are how young a young lady is when she has her first intercourse, and the younger she is, the more that increases her risk. And then also how many partners she has, which would increase the chance of her being exposed to HPV, and then cigarette smoking.
Or how many partners the person that she had sex with.
Correct.
I mean, it could be her first time. But
it could be her first time. She could get exposed to HPV with one poor choice, and it could literally affect her the rest of her life.
And her family, and her husband, and her children, and on and on and on. It's just amazing. Well, let me ask you this.
Sure.
So Obama is now giving the congressional, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Isn't that what it's called? The Medal of Freedom?
The Medal of Freedom
Medal of Freedom Award. And Gloria Steinem is one of the recipients. Of course, Oprah and a few others. But Gloria Steinem, I mean, she's famous for flaunting her abortions. And
sure.
Isn't there
a picture of her standing there with her T-shirt on, with her arms above her head, saying, "I had an abortion." Meanwhile, the Medal of Freedom, President Obama today said, we like to, this is for people who dedicated their lives to enrich others. Well, how does taking the life of an unborn child in your womb possibly, enrich that baby's life? Jesus told us that there's no greater love than when somebody lays down their life for another. So what does that mean if somebody laid down the life of another for themselves? It's got to be the opposite of the greatest love.
It's the opposite. It's the greatest hate. It's the greatest selfishness.
It's the epitome of selfishness.
It's the epitome. It's the definition of selfishness. Well, talk to us about this whole fallacy of, we've got to limit abortion at a certain age or a certain week because at that point the baby feels pain. I mean, listen, I don't want, abortion at all, and I certainly don't want infants in the womb feeling pain, but I mean, there's a fallacy behind that argument. Explain that to us.
Well, there's a big fallacy, and there's been laws that have been passed based on the fact that, we have medical evidence that the babies inside the womb feel pain at this gestational age, so we should not allow for an abortion to be performed after that point. Well, just because, there might be pain involved doesn't mean that there is not a person involved. If I have somebody that I'm operating on and they're under general anesthesia, they are feeling absolutely no pain. If I do an error and they die, can I just say that, I'm sorry that she passed away, but she didn't feel any pain?
Yeah, I made sure she didn't feel any pain.
And the other thing is that if we're going to ban abortions because after 20 weeks the babies experience pain, well, then the easiest thing for an abortionist to do is say, well, my goodness, I'll just use an ultrasound, I'll guide a needle down to the baby, give the baby a shot of pain medicine, then the baby won't feel any pain, and then they'll look at us and say, so you're happy now, right?
Right.
So we've got to be really careful about falling into these traps such as pain. It's about the life, not about the pain. From the moment of conception, that is the only event that you can point and you can say, this is the big event that happened. This is when it's different from mom's cells, different from dad's cells. It's an individual person.
Right. We've got a caller that wants to ask you a question. Pete, welcome to Freedom Friday. You want to ask Dr. Bill a question? Go ahead and shoot.
Dr. Bill, I sure appreciate it.
My pleasure. Pete, what's up?
One other thing, a role model, Whoopi Goldberg, as a teenager, gave herself an abortion, and then the next year, 1 year later, Planned Parenthood paid for the next one. And she's a role model around the world,
Well, I don't know a lot about Whoopi, but I do know that Planned Parenthood is currently under another investigation by the GAO for questions regarding fraudulent billing. In fact, in the state of Texas, back recently, they had to pay $4.3 million for overbilling of Medicaid. So Planned Parenthood, receives hundreds of millions of dollars. They're responsible for about a third of the abortions that are performed in the United States, they are not there to provide mammograms. They're not there to provide health care.
Right.
Their primary goal is to kill the babies within the womb.
Is to kill children. And, Bill, I've got to slide this in, and then I'm going to let you close it out. But every time it comes up about Planned Parenthood, I'm going to remind my listeners, the person who invented it, the person who coined the phrase, the person who got it started, the person who is the liberal heroine of Planned Parenthood is Margaret Sanger.
Correct.
Margaret Sanger is a known eugenist and a known documented racist, and the reason she started Planned Parenthood, one of the main reasons she's on record saying this, is because she hated the black race and was trying to exterminate the black race from America. And a Planned Parenthood started in the black communities. And it's amazing to me that blacks all over this nation will support these liberals who hold up Planned Parenthood as some type of an icon when all it is, or not all it is now, but what it started was an absolute hatred for the black race.
That's absolutely correct.
It's unbelievable. Well, Bill, I want you to have the final word. We've only got about 45, 50 seconds, so tell folks again.
I am standing here in my office in Pensacola, and I am looking out over towards the Gulf. And if you were to walk over to the beach in the Gulf, you would see lots of signs along the Gulf saying, "Danger, sea turtle nest."
Yep.
And the sea turtles are protected by the Endangered Species Act. If you disturb them, you can be fined or you can go to jail for disturbing unborn sea turtles. When was that law passed? 1973 with the Endangered Species Act. When was Roe versus Wade, passed by the Supreme Court? The same year, 1973. So our government, in the same year, 1973, provided protection for unborn turtles abandoned over on Pensacola Beach, but the same year we won't provide that same kind of protection for unborn babies still within the womb here in the United States of America.
Dr. Bill Lyle, an amazing way to end this segment. Thank you for being with us.
My
We've
pleasure.
got to have you back on, and we've got to have you back on longer because people want to talk to you, and you've got so much information, a wealth of information. God bless you. Give those young ladies that are getting ready to deliver our love and tell them that we appreciate them hanging on.
Healthy moms, healthy babies over the next couple minutes. I'll talk to you later.
That's right. See you, Dr. Lyle. That was Dr. Bill Lyle, pro-life doc, OBGYN out of Sacred Heart Hospital. We're so glad that he took time to be with us. So glad you're taking time to be with us. Mike Shoesmith will be up next. After that, Mike Zullo. After that, Dr. David Reagan. Wow, what a show we have. Don't go away.